Joe Barry Carroll up there, and the rebound claimed by Minnesota. Drake Morris tried to pick that ball up, but the Gophers have it and have a 2-point lead. They've scored the last 4 points. Purdue's owning now. Holmes, Mitchell. 11 and a half minutes to go in the first half. Minnesota ahead 12-10. Kevin McHale, basket is good. The foul is on Carroll. Joe Barry getting his second foul.
Here's the drive, number 30, right down the heart, up, and dumps it down inside to Randy Buer, who takes it up strong with two hands and is fouled from behind, as you see there.
Let's check the foul. It was on Morris, not Joe Barry. Drake Morris. Purdue winds up with the ball off the boards. A free throw missed. 14-10. Purdue down by 4. Walker trying to go to Carroll, and then Drake Morris coming down the baseline. But the pass is deflected, knocked out of bounds. Hallman comes in. Drake Morris comes out for Purdue. 11:04 to go in the first half. Minnesota up by 4, and we've got a timeout here. And we'll be back with more action right after this.
You're the skeet shooting expert. What am I doing wrong?
Let's talk about it over a beer. Better yet, over a Michelob Light.
A light beer? Since when?
Since Michelob Light.
The rich, full-bodied taste of Michelob Light. Compare it to any beer you like.
This Michelob Light's one fine beer. Now, if I can only raise my scores.
Hey, you want really high scores?
Yeah.
Go back to golf.
Michelob Light. Compare the taste to any beer you like.
Yeah.
Hurricane Frederick strikes the Gulf Coast, leaving behind over $1 billion worth of damage. Before the winds stopped, Allstate people were at work, using new techniques of handling claims, like radios and computers.
Place the roof complete.
Okay.
Place the left quarter glass.
Got it.
Speeding up settlement of thousands of claims, both auto and homeowners. Allstate in action. New ways of giving help when you need it. You're in good hands with Allstate.
See the amazing runs, the great catches, and the bone-jarring hits as Sports World recaps the 79 NFL season tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern on NBC.
And at 1:30 Eastern time tomorrow, Duran Macklin leads the explosive LSU Tigers against Ray Myers, powerful #1 ranked DePaul Blue Demons, and sophomore sensational Mark Aguirre. That's tomorrow on NBC. Minnesota ahead by 4 with 11:04 to go in the first half.
Merle, that back line of Minnesota's along that baseline. Gary Holmes 6'10", Randy Buer at 7'2", and Kevin McHale at 6'11". Really makes it tough to get the ball inside to Joe Barry Carroll.
Mike Scarce on the outside. Brian Walker, that's Edmondson. Boy, you talk about the Valley of the Giants. That's Edmondson from the outside. And McHale rebounds, and McHale either stepped out of bounds or pushed off. He pushed off. Foul is on Kevin McHale. That is his first and the second team foul against Minnesota. Coming back into the game is Kevin Stallings for Purdue, and Keith Edmondson will come to the bench for a little rest. Joe Barry Carroll. Carroll's been held to 2 points here in the first half, and half of the first half is gone, just about. Joe Barry hooking over the top of McHale, and McHale losing the rebound. Joe Barry with a little touch, and he's got it. Joe Barry Carroll, averaging 25 points a game this year, brings Purdue within 2. His coach, Lee Rose, says he's the #1 player in America. 2-3 zone by Purdue. That's Mitchell. Darrell, the sophomore out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Holmes trying from the outside and missing. Arnett Holman comes up with the ball, and Brian Walker quarterbacks Purdue down the floor. (9:53 to go in the first half. Scarce from the outside. So Mike Scarce who has averaged about 7 a game for Purdue, ties the game at 14.
Those wings are a little more open because Minnesota's concerned about Joe Barry Carroll inside.
Mitchell. Trent Tucker, number 32. Tucker pops from the outside from 25 feet. That's 4 for him, and Minnesota's back ahead by 2. Now let's pause 5 seconds for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is WMAQ-TV, Chicago.
Mike Scarce for Purdue. That's 2 in a row for him now. As Purdue warms the hoops from the outside against that zone. 16 all. The Golden Gophers of Minnesota have really turned it around this year under the leadership of Jim Dutcher. They've won 10 and lost 4. Tucker. So Tucker has 6 as he hits the last 2 buckets, and Minnesota's back ahead by 2.
Well, Purdue's zone's gone more like a 1-1-3.
Mike Scarce, Kevin Stallings, Brian Walker. Holman, no place to throw it. Tucker takes it all the way, and he is fouled by Stallings. So Trent Tucker really exploding down the floor, one-on-one. Stallings did the only thing he could do, fouled.
There's Trent Tucker's drive and a foul reaching right in there by Kevin Stallings. Got him as he went up for the shot.
Zeb Howell, 33, is back in for Minnesota. And Edmondson has replaced Brian Walker for Purdue. 7 for Tucker.
Merle, I think that substitution was more for shooting ability because they're laying off of Walker enough that he wants to have Kevin Stallings and they're shooting off of that wing.
Minnesota with a 4-point lead. 8:15 to play in the first half. Minnesota again throws the zone at Purdue. Go inside to Carroll at the key, and he is fouled by number 32, Trent Tucker. The agility of both these big men, Carroll and McHale, is really something, Coach.
Yeah, they get bigger and better every year.
That's the Minnesota bench. Jim Dutcher, his assistants, Jimmy Williams, Jesse Evans. Not quite. McHale rebounds. They got a 3-on-1, 4-on-1 now with Howell coming the right lane, and Brewer gets it. All of a sudden, that 3-on-1 became 4-on-1, and what can you do against that?
That guy was 7'2", who was running down there and made that basket. Randy Brewer, just a freshman.
22-16, Minnesota. Carroll, McHale has really got him, but Carroll gets it up there, won't go. Whistle stopping the play. And look at him piled up at the other end, will you? So we'll go back to the other end of the floor, and we'll got a whistle coming up, and Minnesota leads by that margin, and we'll be back right after this.
Here's the estimate.
A lot of money for a small home.
Rebuilding costs are going
Through the roof. Glad it wasn't the whole house.
What if it were? Could your insurance rebuild it today?
I never thought of it.
Allstate has. We have homeowners insurance that can increase your coverage as rebuilding costs go up automatically.
You're smart to keep up with rising rebuilding costs.
Yeah, glad I thought of it.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
And that's a promise from us, the good hands people.
Cougar, more than ever.
Meet the completely new Cougar XR7s. Completely new in their lean, fluid design. Completely new in sophisticated available technology. Completely new in fuel efficiency with an optional automatic overdrive transmission. No other American automaker offers it. The completely new Cougar XR7s.
Cougar, more than ever.
Monday, it's Hope Women in Song with B. Arthur, Debbie Boone, Diane Carroll, and Shirley Jones. It's the best of Hope as Bob recreates his greatest moments in show business.
Big Ten basketball is enjoying another banner year in attendance. Last Thursday's 5 games attracted nearly 70,000 fans, or an average of 13,000 a game. The preceding message was furnished by TBS on behalf of the Big Ten Conference. Watch this scramble now.
Ball's on the deck. He turns. His shot. Now the rebound is banged around. And watch the folks go on the floor after it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people down there.
But then they decided they better have a jump ball. That's what the whistle was all about, to stop play, and we'll resume now with the jump ball. It'll be Hallman again. Hallman will go in there, and he'll be up against Zeb Howell. Purdue controls. Stallings and Edmondson are now on the back line for Purdue, looking at a Minnesota zone. Keith Edmondson, Barry Carroll, Joe Barry over the top of Brewer, and it would not go. McHale and Joe Barry Carroll, and you'll see them, and you'll see Brewer, and you'll see what they're doing to Joe Barry Carroll. Ball will stay, no, the ball will go over to Minnesota. I'll tell you, with Brewer and McHale both in there, Fred, that really makes life miserable for Joe Barry Carroll.
During the timeout, apparently Lee Rose told Joe Barry Carroll to stay down low a little bit more. And he was working down low, but as you suggest, that makes it awfully tough with that kind of size against you. Another thing I think he might have said was that Joe Barry, don't put the ball on the deck, and he had done that every time up until the last time before he turned to take the shot.
That was Darrell Mitchell, and Minnesota pulls away to an 8-point lead. 6:29 to go in the first half. Stallings, good fake, now goes cross court to Edmondson. Arnett Hallman. It is indeed difficult, this Minnesota zone. Tough to penetrate, tough to work over. They really play it well. Hallman goes from the outside, and Hallman bangs the ball off the Gophers' Darrell Mitchell, and the ball will stay with Purdue.
That's a good play by Arnett Hallman.
Drake Morris, 33, is coming back in. Drake is out of East Chicago, Indiana, junior. Very active with the hands. Coming out of the ball game is Ted Benson, the freshman from Atlanta. Drake Morris. This is Stallings. 5 minutes, 47 seconds to go in the first half. Minnesota leading by 8 at 24-16. Last year, Purdue won both games, and foul is called on Brewer. Randy Brewer, the freshman, getting his first foul.
Just a reaching in foul. Joe Barry Carroll sets up in low, gets the pass in there, right there, puts it on the deck, but it had already been fouled before he put it on the deck.
5 fouls against Purdue, 4 against Minnesota. We're nearing the 5.5-minute mark to go in the first half. Minnesota 24, Purdue 16. Joe Barry Carroll hooking over Brewer. Brewer gets the rebound, clears it out. Here comes a fast break, geared by Mitchell, but quickly Purdue gets back of that defense again. And they go to the zone. .32, Trent Tucker, that's Mitchell. Now, go to McHale, couldn't handle the ball.
Purdue went back to 2-3 zone that time.
Purdue needs a bucket. Things have been silent for the Boilermakers in the scoring column the last few minutes. Stallings tries, he's got it. Kevin Stallings. And it's 24-18 Minnesota. McHale trying to get it right back, and he does. That's 10 points for Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale is the second leading scorer in Minnesota history now to Michael Thompson.
Well, unofficially, that's 11 baskets and 14 attempts for Minnesota in this half.
Hallman, whoa, Arnett Hallman coming up with a big one on a turning jumper, and that's 8 for him, and quickly Purdue has scored 4 points unanswered. 26-20 Minnesota. McHale, Brewer, turnaround jump, he's got it. You know, they were talking about Brewer. They said if he would just get off the floor. He didn't have to do that in high school, but that time he did get off the floor.
He's also has a guy who's 7'2" playing against him.
28-20 Minnesota. Arnett Hallman faking. And Edmondson, but whatever happens, it's all over. 3-second violation against Purdue. Turns the ball over to Minnesota. Mike Scarce comes into the game now, and Drake Morris goes out for Purdue.
There's
Here
a pump. It comes underneath. We don't see the 3-second call on Joe Barry Carroll, but he'd been in there for a while.
3:43 to go in the first half. Minnesota on top by 8 again. Mitchell's only a freshman. They're looking for sophomore. They're expecting big things from him at Minnesota. In fact, everybody on this Minnesota roster is either a sophomore or freshman, but 2 people. Brewer, look at that turnaround jumper. Wouldn't go down for him, and Scarce clears it out. Arnett Hallman, reverse, good. That's 10 for Arnett Hallman. Joe Barry Carroll has been held to 4 here in the first half, and so Hallman has had to pick up the slack. Minnesota 28-22 over Purdue. We're into the 3-minute mark. Lee Rose and his staff. Everett Bass, Billy Keller. The follow is good. Darrell Mitchell. That's his second field goal, and again an 8-point lead for Minnesota.
Team with the biggest rebounding margin in the league is Minnesota. And they're showing you why.
2.5 minutes to go in the first half. Stallings from the outside, and here come the Gophers. They break out 3-on-2. Mitchell, left lane feed, Tucker. So the Minnesota fast break, they got Purdue in a 3-on-2 situation and burned them.
Minnesota is much faster this year than they have been in recent years.
And Purdue takes a timeout with Minnesota building a 10-point lead. 2:09 to go in the first half, and we'll be back in a moment.
Hi, I'm Janet Guthrie. If you're like me, you want engine protection up front. And you want fuel economy back here. That's why you need Texaco's Haviland Supreme Motor Oil. In over 1 million miles of State Trooper testing, it delivered proven engine protection. In fuel economy tests, it delivered unbeaten mileage. Trooper tested protection up front, backed by unbeaten mileage. That's Texaco's Haviland Supreme.
Don't worry, they just got lucky. I'm sorry, I let us down.
Forget it. We'll beat him next week.
No, I really let us down.
Come on, how about a Michelob Light, huh?
Michelob makes a light beer? Sure.
The rich, full-bodied taste of Michelob Light. Compare it to any beer you like.
This Michelob Light is great. Hey, you know what our real problem was today?
Yeah, you were terrible.
Michelob Light. Compare the taste to any beer you like.
Yeah.
America's top Olympic hopefuls, led by Ronaldo Nehemiah and Dwight Stones, are scheduled to compete against a world-class field at the U.S. Olympic Invitational Track Meet tomorrow.
Well, bad news for track fans, so Ronaldo Nehemiah will not participate tomorrow due to an injury. Jim Dutcher in his 5th year at Minnesota. What a job he has done. He came here, the first thing he found out was he had a lot of guys ineligible. But that didn't seem to bother him. He came right back, went ahead, they had a good season. Then he was faced with a situation where he had to give up, 27?
Zipping 27.
Yeah, he wound up 0-27 one year because of ineligibility problems, and he had a winning season that year, but then he had to give him up. Well, anyway, back to the action here. 10-point lead Minnesota, 2:04 to go in the first half. Arnett Hallman is 45, Stallings 32, Barry Carroll, Joe Barry pops her in. Joe Barry Carroll with 6 now, 32-24 Minnesota.
Joe Barry turned with good strength that time, faced the basket without putting the ball on the deck, and gave him an opportunity to go a little bit better with it.
Minute 44 to go in the first half.
Minnesota playing against a man now. Purdue's gone to a man defense.
And let's see how anxious Minnesota is to get to the basket here. They go into Brewer. Brewer comes back to Mitchell. Mitchell's anxious. He pops away, hits the heel. And Minnesota's Keith Edmondson comes up with the rebound. Clears it out to Stallings with 1:22 to go in the first half. 32-24 Minnesota. Edmondson. Joe Barry Carroll. hooking from the right side, and the whistle stopping play. And a foul is called on Randy Brewer. Brewer says, who, me? That's 2 on him. 1:11 to go in the first half.
Here Joe Barry turns with his sky hook. Randy Brewer had fouled him before we got on the screen, I think.
And Joe Barry Carroll gets a basket out of it. The basket was good. Now chance for a three-point play. And he has 9 points in the first half. He picks up his scoring, working against the freshman Randy Brewer. Down to about a minute. 32-27 Minnesota. We're into the minute mark. Mitchell, pretty good move, down to the baseline. Ball deflected, taken by Scarce. Purdue comes up with the ball.
And Purdue going back to a man defense, I think has caused Minnesota some problems. They were so used to playing against that zone.
Scarce missing, and the rebound claimed by Zeb Howell, the freshman from Ocala, Florida. He's a fine rebounding forward. He's really given Minnesota some strength up there. 30 seconds to go in the first half. Minnesota 32-27 over Purdue. Look at Purdue's man-to-man.
See, the matchup now is Holman on McHale.
And that's Brewer. Randy Brewer with 6 points.
And they did it over the big fella, too.
34-27 as we watch the countdown. Minnesota leading under the 10-second mark. Holman, Edmondson, 4 seconds. Somebody's got to take a shot. There it is. And it's good, the buzzer. Kevin Stallings hitting to the outside from almost 30 feet away. And at halftime, it's Minnesota 34, Purdue 29. Stay with us for the second half action.
Right guard knows that in equally active situations, men and women don't perspire equally. Men perspire more. That's why men count on Right Guard. Right Guard is so strong, so effective, it helps stop a man's perspiration odor all day long. Yes, men and women don't perspire equally. And that's why men count on Right Guard. Strong, effective Right Guard. Because men perspire more.
Hey, you're sold out of Gillette Track 2.
Delivery's coming any second.
But why should a busy man like you have to wait?
When this razor will do.
Gillette Track 2 shaves me closer and smoother than that. I'll wait.
Life is too short to wait. These'll fit your Track 2 handle.
I know what I'm getting with Track 2 twin blades, but those, I'll wait. For Gillette Track 2.
Yeah, but
To guys who use Gillette Track 2, no other blade will do.
Track 2? We'll wait.
Introducing the 1980 Mercury Marquis.
Feel the Marquis ride.
The Mercury Marquis is not only spacious and comfortable, it has 70% better gas mileage ratings than 1975.
Feel the Marquis ride.
The 1980 Mercury Marquis. Come feel how well it's designed.
Feel the Marquis ride.
We'll be back with the IBM College Basketball Report after these messages from your local station.
The Courage of Kavik the Wolf Dog, a world premiere. A boy and the dog he saved from death.
He'll have to be destroyed.
No! And then they were separated by 2,000 miles of Arctic wilderness until Kavik runs for freedom and begins a desperate journey home to the boy who loves him. Ronnie Cox, John Ireland, Andrew McMillan, and Linda Sorensen star Sunday.
Be sure to join me, Carol Cartwright, for On Cue, the Channel 5 community program for everyone. Saturday evening at 6 o'clock, right here.
Brought to you by Excedrin, the extra strength pain reliever.
Montreal, 1976. Vasily Alexiev of the Soviet Union attempts a world record 562 pounds in the clean and jerk.